Good morning. Today we're going to look at creating a web page using HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which is a standard markup language for creating web pages. So it's not a language like you're used to dealing with. It's not a programming language like Python is. It's a markup language. What it says there is hypertext markup language. So essentially what we create is text, and then we tell your browser, your Chrome, your Safari, those kind of things, what that text actually means, what part of the web page you want it to be. So is it a heading, is it a paragraph, is it an image, that type of thing. So we're going to be using hypertext markup language. And because it is basically text, we need a text editor to write our text in. And I'm recommending that we use Notepad++. So if you already have Notepad++ on your computer, that's great. If you don't, please pause this video now and go and download it. Okay, so Notepad++ looks like this when you open it up, and we want to use this to write a HTML program. So what I want to do is set up our Notepad just so that it can deal with a HTML script. So we're going to create a new script here, and you can see we're given a new one by default. We can also click on this white page here to get a new one, and we can do File and pick New here as well. Okay, so when we do that, we just get a blank new file, but we can actually set the language that we want to use, because Notepad++ has a multitude of languages in it. One we're looking for is HTML, so we can find that under the language menu. So this new file that I've just created is now a HTML document, but I need to save it with a name and the extension HTML. So I'm going File and I'm doing Save As. I'm picking a folder which I want to save my work in. So my folder I've set up here. And the file name I want to call it is, let's call it Hello. And the file extension we want is Hypertext Markup Language, or HTML, which is down here, Hypertext Markup Language. After the hello, I'm just going to type in a .html because I have a lot of different choices here in our saving type. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Okay, now this document isn't doing anything much, and like any kind of coding that we do, we should always plan out in advance what we want to do. With websites, what we should plan with is a thing called wireframes, which is just a little picture or an image of what you imagine the document to look like. So here's my little drawing of my first website. I'm called it Hello HTML. I want the heading at the top of the page, you know, the tab that you see in your browser, in your Safari or whatever, to say my first website. I'm going to have a heading, Hello World, and underneath that I'm going to have some writing, a bit of a paragraph. So not a fancy website, but it's good for a first run through. So I've done my design, and I'm going to go back to Notepad++, and I'm going to put in my text that I really want to be in this document. So I said I wanted to have a heading, so I'm typing in Hello World as my heading. And then underneath that, I want a paragraph of text. So let's see. I'm going to write in Hello World programs are usually the first programs that new coders learn, because even those and you can see already I'm falling off the page. So it doesn't matter that I'm falling off the page here. I'm just going to cut that line a bit shorter and come back over here. You will learn that HTML will actually ignore this and it will put in the spaces where they're needed. So I'm going to carry on here with little or no experience. Can execute hello world. Both easily and correctly. Okay, so what I have here is a little heading and a little paragraph of text. Okay, but it's not marked up. I haven't told my browser that this is a heading, and I haven't told my browser that this is a paragraph. Okay, so to do that, I need to put tags around these things, mark them. So I need to mark my header here, either side of it, with a heading tag. So tags have angled brackets like this. So at the beginning you have angled brackets, and at the end you have angled brackets with a slash. So we have an opening tag and a closing tag surrounding our hello world here. I want this to be a big heading, so I'm going to pick H1. And you can see there's a number of different types of headings that I could pick, H1 down to H6. H1 is the largest heading. H6 would be a subheading underneath that, H3 underneath H2, and so on. So H6 is the lowest submitted subheading. So if I'm opening a H1 tag, I need to close a H1 tag on the other side. So these tags need to match. Okay, so I've now declared that my hello world there is a heading, and I need to then say that this guy down here is a paragraph. So like before, I'm opening with angled brackets, and this one is a paragraph, so P for paragraph. And at the end as well, I need to close, so a backward slash to close and closing my paragraph. Okay, again, that's fallen slightly off the screen, so I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. Okay, so far I've got a heading and a paragraph. And you can see that because I told Notepad++ that this is a HTML document, it has marked my tags in blue, and it's connecting my whole paragraph together here with this red mark. Okay, if I didn't mark it as a HTML document, I could still type it up like this, but it wouldn't look so nice. Okay, so I've got a few other things I need to add in here. Like, first of all, I need to tell the browser first that I am using HTML. So before all this text, I should actually have put in up here a declare that this is a HTML document. And we do that with angled brackets as well, but with an exclamation mark. We're saying that the doc type is HTML. And that tells our browser that we're actually using the latest version of HTML, which is HTML5. So underneath that, I'm adding the root element. So all of my text should be inside an element in HTML, which the root element is the HTML element. So I'm putting in the opening HTML tag along with, at the very bottom, the closing HTML tag. Okay, remember most of these tags, or pretty much all of them, have an opening and a closing tag. Okay, so I've got my opening HTML and my closing HTML. Within the HTML tag, built inside the tag, is two more elements which are required. One of them is the head element and one is the body. So the text that we want displayed in our web page actually belongs inside the body tag. So I'm adding the body tag here and closing the body tag. So everything that I want displayed on my website has to fall within this body tag. So I can put all my pictures, my videos, whatever it is I want to display on my website goes between those two tags. Okay, above the body tag, then I have a head tag. And this head element. This element includes information about the web page that I'm trying to design. So if you remember on my web page, I had a title. I wanted it to be called My First Website, and that would come up on the tab on my browser. So I'm going to have that in my head meta information. So I need a title element. So I've got title, opening, closing tag. My title is called My First Web Page. And remember, I want to close title. Okay, so I think I have all the elements that I need. So I've declared this document to be HTML5. The root element is here. It's a HTML element. Inside that root element, I have two main elements, the head and the body. My head element contains information about my website, like, for example, the page tab title. And my body element includes all the information that I want displayed on my web page, my heading and my paragraph. So when I open this up in my browser now, my browser then looks at it and tries to understand the information about the web page that I want to display it as with a tab saying this is my first web page. And then it interprets all the information that I've got in the body. It knows I want a header, it knows I want a paragraph, and it will put them together as a model of a web page, and then it will put that web page out onto my screen. So different browsers might translate these tags slightly differently, but you should essentially end up with much the same website no matter which browser you use. What I want to do before I go to my browser, I want to just get a preview of it here in Notepad++. So to do that, I need to first of all install a plugin which will let me preview. So if I go to the plugins menu here, and plugins, and I want to do plugin administration. And in this search box here, I want to search for a preview plugin for HTML. And you can see it's come up here at the bottom here. So if I tick that box, and I want to install it. So this is going to install the preview in my Notepad++. So I'm going to say yes. Yes, I do want changes. Okay, I think that is installed. I should be able to now view my web page. Okay, so I can view my web page if I go back to plugins, and I should now have in my list preview HTML. So if I preview HTML, it's popped up on my screen, my first web page. There's my heading, hello world, and here is my paragraph of text. So that looks great. So let's actually see now in the browser, does it translate those elements in the same way? So I need to, first of all, make sure this is saved. So I can hit the save button here. And then I go to my folder where I have it saved. I'm using Chrome as my browser. So if I double click on it here, it should open it in Chrome. And there's my web page. Hello world. The title is at the top there, my first web page. I have my heading and I have my paragraph of writing. So good, all good so far. Now let's see how spaces are treated in Notepad++. So let's go back to Notepad++ and add in some spaces. Let's say below the heading, add a few lines, and maybe space out some of these words. And I'm also putting in some spaces in between. So I've really messed up my paragraph here, or it looks like I have at least. So let's see, does this make a difference? All this space that I've added in to our actual displayed web page. So as before, make sure we save the work first. I'm going to go back to my browser where I have my web page open. This is my web page from before, and I need to refresh it, reload the page. So here's my page reloaded. Doesn't look any different. And that's because HTML does not worry about those spaces. So spaces between words or spaces between lines and spaces between headings and paragraphs, totally ignored. HTML does not care. So if we do actually want to put in some space, we need to put in a tab that has that break in it, that space. So I'm just going to put my paragraph back together here to make it a little bit more readable. First of all, okay, so it's kind of back to the way it was. And in here, between hello world and my paragraph, between my heading and my paragraph, I do actually want some line breaks. So I'm going to put in some breaks. Now the break tab is what's called a null tab, or it doesn't have a closing tab. So sometimes you'll see it just like this, and sometimes you'll see it open and close all in the one go, like this, I think it is. Okay, so I'm putting in a number of different breaks here. And what these should do is skip lines between the heading and the paragraph. So let's try that out. So save, go back to my web page and refresh, and there we go, we've put in some spaces. So today we've learned a few different tags in our HTML. We've learned the core tag, which is the HTML, or the root tag. We have head and close head, which includes the meta information of our web page. And we have body with close body, which is the displayed image of our displayed elements of our web page. And inside those displayed elements, we have H1, which is our top heading. We could take H1, H2, H3, all the way down to H6. We have BR, which is a break tag, and we have P, which is our paragraph tag. There are plenty of other tags in HTML. There are a few of them mentioned in this presentation, which will be attached to Google Classroom. I just show you this page here. It shows us that different elements are nested within each other. So we can see here the root tag, the HTML on the outside. Everything has to go within that HTML tag, other than the declaration of the document itself. So inside the HTML tag, we have the head tag and the body tag. And those elements are inside the head tag are the meta information about the web page, and inside the body tag are the elements which are displayed. So we can see they're all nested inside each other. There are plenty of other elements that we could play with, so they're the three that we've seen today. But there are lots of ones that deal with tables and images and videos and stuff like that, and we will be coming across them at a later date. So that's the end of this video, where you're creating your first web page using Notepad++. In the next video, we will look at repeating this exactly the same, but only using a different platform. Thank you.